What crazy, off the wall, surprise announcements could Hot Toys shock us with for Star Wars in the short term? We're going to look at a handful of these figures. Some of them may not be as crazy as one would think. We're also going to take a look at some of the figures that are going so high within the secondary market. Is it possible that we could get a reissue or a different version of some of these figures actually soon? Let's dive into all of this right now. All right, and welcome everyone to another episode of the Market Value Chart Show, right here at 6 Scale Cantina. So if you missed the last live episode of the Market Value Chart Show, that was this past Saturday, I have the link to that stream within the video description below. What a fun time we had on that show. We had so many people participating in the live chat. We had 129 concurrent viewers. It was absolutely fabulous. We had special guests within the panel as well. And absolutely, I recommend going ahead and checking it out and watching the replay if you have not seen it already. And please go ahead and put on your calendars, go ahead and book it. The next live episode will be not this coming Saturday, but the next Saturday, April 24th at 6 p.m. Eastern, the Market Value Chart Show will be live once again. Again, not this Saturday, but the following Saturday, April 24th at 6 p.m. Eastern. I so look forward to hanging out with all of you again there for sure. So let's go ahead and dive right into this episode. And as we do with most editions of the Market Value Chart Show, we're going to go right to 6scalecantina.com. And for this episode, we are going to go to the biggest mover section. And as I mentioned within the live stream this past Saturday, the biggest mover section is vastly different right now. It has evolved with a bunch of new figures, and it's very, very interesting. So the first figure I want to go ahead and speak to is this animated Boba Fett. Now, we did touch on this briefly within the live episode this past weekend. But is it possible that Hot Toys can give us a straight reissue of this animated Boba Fett? Or even this vintage color Boba Fett, which is also trending up higher within the secondary market again. This figure was kind of steady, like the Remnant Trooper, between, 325, 340, 350 for a while. And now it's starting to climb. And now it's somewhere within the 360, 366 or some range like that. And it's getting close to the $400 tier range. So is it possible that Hot Toys can give us a straight reissue of this vintage color Boba Fett and this animated Boba Fett? Now, I think there are some variables to consider before really answering that question. Number one, Boba Fett is really hot right now, but there's going to be a lot of new content that Boba Fett is going to be in. Not only in the book of Boba Fett, but quite possibly again in The Mandalorian, and also quite possibly in other Star Wars content forthcoming on Disney+. When you oversaturate the market too much with one character, it's hard to be able to get some of the other pieces to sell accordingly. So as far as in the short term, remember, I've discussed this before, both this animated Boba Fett and this vintage color Boba Fett, while they're very nice looking figures, they are novelty items in a sense when it comes to Hot Toys. These are not major motion picture releases. So, in that regard, I think that Hot Toys is going to focus more attention on Boba Fett releases such as the deluxe Boba Fett that is already on pre-order on Sideshow, both the deluxe and non-deluxe version. I think we're going to get a Boba Fett, obviously the clean armor version of that in particular character. But I don't think we're going to see this in the short term, to see a reissue of these figures at all. Again, they are novelty items. And to plan production and to plan capacity for novelty item figures that, quite frankly, even while Star Wars is hot, might not generate the production numbers that Hot Toys is looking for in the short term, I don't believe that this is a short-term possibility. Now, what I could see, because Hot Toys has had a trend recently with these 2-packs, is while they have that worn-out Mandalorian version of Boba Fett with the worn-out armor, while that is on pre-order, and while they're going to be coming out with the clean armor version of that figure at some point, and probably while they're going to be coming out with some other Boba Fett figures from Disney Plus content, I could actually see a potential here where they would perhaps give us a 2-pack that would feature not only the animated Boba Fett that you see below my picture here on the screen, but would feature also this vintage color Boba Fett. And you have to wonder, is that really a possibility? And I say yes, if it's in a 2-pack form. Look at what they have done recently with the Nightmare Batman, which was an exclusive. And they went ahead and repacked that same exact figure in a 2-pack with the Dark Suit Superman. So if you want the Dark Suit Superman, that's how you're going to go ahead and get it, is by also getting that 2-pack with the Nightmare Batman. And the interesting thing about this possibility, if we can go ahead and get this animated Boba Fett in a 2-pack with this vintage color Boba Fett, is that would really put a whammy within the secondary market for both of these figures. Because for the price of this 2-pack, which I guess would be somewhere around the $500, $600 range, if you want to go ahead and get the animated Boba Fett right now, it is trending high within the $600 tier range within the secondary market. So in a way, you could get 2 for 1 right now if they went ahead and announced a 2-pack of this. And do I think that that could be a relevant reissue in the short term meaning this year or next year? I absolutely could see them doing this. First of all, I think they would already know with the 2-pack they're not going to sell quite as many a 2-pack as they would with a single version figure. And I think then it would be safer for Hot Toys to say, okay, you know what? We'll go ahead and reissue these figures. We've got the molds. They're doing really good within the secondary market. The vintage color Boba Fett now is gaining some traction, much like the Attack of the Clones Yoda that gained traction. And they basically reissued that figure very quickly. And as they reissued that figure is actually trending higher than it's ever done before. So could I actually see this in a 2-pack? You betcha. Let me know what you think. So let's go ahead and go to the next figure I want to go ahead and speak to. And we spoke about her a little bit as well within this past live stream. But Princess Leia, the A New Hope version you see next to the animated Boba Fett, and also the Hoth version, are both trending very, very, very high. As I've mentioned on the live stream this past Saturday, the A New Hope Leia, just this past weekend, breached the $500 tier range. And this Hoth Leia is not far behind. And quite frankly, with this Bespin Leia, I don't necessarily see a short-term possibility that they would reissue that figure I do see, I think it's possible, and I think that they could in the long term. I think it's more probable that they would with the A New Hope Leia, especially because she has a small little place in Rogue One where she appeared at the end of the movie. And that could be an opportunity there to give us a Rogue One version of Leia, which would basically be a reissue of some sorts. But I think one of the suggestions, and it actually came in from one of my subscribers, and I think that this is an absolutely fabulous idea. What if they went ahead and, in a way, not only reissued the Hoth Leia, but they also went ahead and at the same time reissued the Bespin Leia. Now, you're saying, how in the world would they do this? Let me go ahead and pull it up on the screen. So if you see here on the screen right now, this is basically, for all intents and purposes, this is the Bespin Leia with that hair, basically. And she basically almost has like the Hoth outfit, a white outfit. So could I actually see Hot Toys perhaps reusing that hair and head sculpt from the Bespin Leia, and then kind of in a way reusing sort of the white outfit, or from the Hoth Leia, and saying, hey, here is another version of Leia? I absolutely could. That was such a great comment that was left by one of my subscribers. And I think that is a great possibility. As a matter of fact, the way that these Leias are trending within the secondary market, I think it's safe to say that Hot Toys is, taking a look and is, pretty educated to their merchandise and prior releases, and being up to date on what is trending high within the secondary market. And you can bet your bottom dollar that they know that this Leia Hoth is trending up, and the New Hope Leia is trending up. And now as you're scrolling down the scene, that they could see this Leia Bespin is starting to trend up. And also this Leia Endor is starting to trend up. And Hot Toys can be like, look, we can go ahead and come out with a different version of Leia. She was in this outfit in the movie while, Chewbacca was, choking Lando in that one in particular scene during the Cloud City escape. You can also go ahead and have, that Leia in the other gown, whatever, in Return of the Jedi. There's so many, there's a few possibilities that we could come out with new figures. And I say, would Hot Toys do it? Absolutely, because they're scoring with all these other Leia, releases. So, do I think that you have to? Absolutely, without a doubt, that you have to jump on, paying $500 to, close to $600 right now for a New Hope Leia, and close to $500 right now for a Hoth Leia. Well, if you really must have it and you have the money for it, sure. For me personally, no, I wouldn't do it. I would actually hold out for one of these, what I think actually is probably an inevitable a new OT release of Leia in some way, shape, or form. Or, right now, I don't have either one. I don't have the A New Hope Leia, and I don't have the Hoth Leia. I wish I did, but they're just so pricey, and I'm not going to go ahead and spend that on those. However, I do have both the Bespin Leia you're seeing on the bottom of your screen and the Endor Leia. And right now, for the very short term, you could still get these within the high $200 tier range. But folks, that's going to go ahead and change quickly. So if you were looking for a Leia or holding out for a Leia, for instance, that Endor Leia is absolutely fabulous. I got it the 2-pack with Wicket, which is another incredible figure. But that Bespin Leia is an absolute knockout piece as well. I mean, the head sculpt on that figure is absolutely magnificent. I mean, I am actually blown away by how good these head sculpts are. You know, pulling up this Bespin Leia on the screen, you can go ahead and take a look for yourself. And as I brought up before, there's not a whole lot of differences between any of these head sculpts. There's not one that, for instance, stinks or doesn't hold up. Whether it's this Bespin Leia or the Hoth Leia or the Endor Leia or the A New Hope Leia, they're all good figures. So I think that all of them have the potential to not only rise up within the secondary market, but get at the prices that you're seeing here with this A New Hope Leia. Again, it just breached the $500 tier range, and the Hoth Leia is not far behind it. So why would you do a straight reissue when there's really a lot of opportunity with Leia because of all the different outfits and looks that she has within the OT, to have not only collectors that are looking for a Leia, but other collectors that already have Leias to go ahead and buy the new one as well. Remember, you can't think of all of these the same way as the Empire Strikes Back Vader, or the Empire Strikes Back Boba Fett, or the Attack of the Clones Yoda. There's only so many versions of Attack of the Clones Yoda that you could come out with. But there's many versions of Leia that you could come out with. So why wouldn't Hot Toys say, you know what? There's going to be a vast array of collectors that already have this figure that are not going to buy it again. So sure, we could go ahead and reissue this and get the figures, sell them to new collectors or collectors that are looking for it. But why not only get them, but get collectors that have the other Leias to get another version of Leia, because quite possibly they're going to go ahead and get that version because they have the other versions. So you have to look at this from Hot Toys' perspective. So while I think you can't, it's a very good point that, never rule out a reissue, but some of them are just not really feasible in the short term and really don't make business sense, especially when you have upcoming content on Disney Plus that they have to focus on, not only for Star Wars, but for Marvel and for everything else. And really, what's going to make sense from a business perspective? Sure. In the long term, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, it's possible that all these figures can get reissued, but they may be reissued with better head sculpts, just like they do in the Black Series. You got the new photoreal technology. So sure, I could see that coming up. With Leia, I think it is unlikely, except for the A New Hope version, but I do see a different Empire Strikes Back Leia coming out for sure. And before we go ahead and move on to the next figure, one thing that I want to stress out, stress to everybody here, and I've said it on so many episodes, but I feel inclined to bring it up again. Remember, the reason we follow the secondary market is so that we can be educated on the prices of the Hot Toys that we are collecting. Even if we collect not to invest. I don't invest in Hot Toys. Nonetheless, it's an investment, especially when you're paying over $300 for a toy. Folks, it's an investment. Not like stocks or bonds or in that way, but it is an investment nonetheless. Don't go in with blinders on. I just want the figure. I don't care what happens. You wouldn't buy a house. I just want the house. I don't care if I spend $400,000 for it and I can only sell it for $20,000. I just want it. Well, unless you have money to burn, then absolutely do what you want. Do what you want anyway. But the reason following secondary market is so important is, what if you have to get out from under these? What if there's an unexpected situation and you need the money? So it's very important. Or also, a big part of collecting is sometimes you get a figure and you like it for a certain time, or you get a line of figures and you like them for a certain amount of time, and then they come out with a new line and you're like, well, I really like these, but wow, it would be nice to get these 5 other, figures, like these Clone Wars pre-orders. I really wish I would like to have them more, and I don't have the money, and I like these other figures, but I'm kind of bored with them. I'm going to go ahead and sell them. Well, if they're figures that, you're going to be getting less than what you invested in, or they're not even close to being able to get the retail value that you need, you can lose money on that. So it's really important when you're collecting figures, especially at these price ranges, to kind of educate yourself on what exactly you're investing into. And as I've mentioned before, don't fall for the hype, but absolutely follow the hype. And I'll bring this example up again for a lot of the new subscribers that have never heard me say it. When there was all that hype about the Mud Trooper for the Solo movie, and that thing hit waitlist before it got into stock, I didn't buy into any of the hype, and I am a absolute diehard Star Wars fan, but I wasn't interested in that figure. But what can happen sometimes, all of us can fall into this thing, oh, there's so much hype around it, I must have it, I must have it, I must have it. No, I didn't need it at all. I already have the Solo figure that I wanted. I didn't need that version of the figure. That's great that, for the collectors that already have that figure and love that figure, that, they have a little bit of a grail there. That's fantastic. But I wasn't interested in falling into that hype. But for instance, let's say I wasn't following the hype and I really wanted and have that heavy infantry Mandalorian. I've wanted it from the get-go. But if I wasn't following the hype within the secondary market, I would have done what I usually always do, which I don't pre-order. I wait for the final production photos. And if I like them, I'm going to say, okay, I'll pre-order it, or I'll wait till it gets in stock because I got other things that I got to do. And I don't need the figure. I'm not going to, try and review the figure real quick. I can care less. I could even wait 6-7 months to get the figure. That's fine. I really want it. Would I want it yesterday? Sure. But I can go ahead and wait. But if I would have done that with the heavy infantry Mandalorian, because I wasn't educated on the hype that was going on, I would have missed out. And I would have to pay about $430 something right now to get that figure. And I don't want to do that. So you need to not fall for the hype, but you absolutely certainly need to follow the hype. It's like anything else. If you're not going to buy everything on Wall Street or go into the hype, that's fine. But if you invest in Wall Street, you need to follow it and you need to understand it. And the same thing in this hobby. So that is my recommendation for you. So let us go ahead and go to the next figure that I want to speak to. And you can see also on your screen right here, The Last Jedi Rey. Now, what is the potential for Hot Toys to do a straight reissue of this Last Jedi Rey, or even the Rey from The Force Awakens, which is another good figure, and especially with that BB-8 deluxe pack, pulling that up on the screen. This is an absolutely fantastic head sculpt of Daisy Ridley, and I actually think, for me, as much as I love this one, and I have it, I think the Last Jedi one is a slight upgrade, and I have that one as well. So what is the potential for Hot Toys to do a straight reissue of, these Rey figures? And I think the possibility in the short term is null. I, don't think that is going to happen. Do I think it can happen in the long term? Sure. Yeah, you have to remember there's not a whole lot of excitement right now within the sequel trilogy. There's a lot more excitement around Mandalorian and a lot of the forthcoming content. But this was the same thing that happened with the prequels when they first came out too. And as you can see now, a lot of people are starting to really love the prequels, and you're seeing what's going on with Darkside Anakin and regular Anakin and all the prequel figures and stuff like that. So I think with everything that's going on Disney Plus and everything that Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni are doing, can I see down the road them going ahead and reissuing some sequel figures, or perhaps even doing an upgraded version? Absolutely. Do I see them doing it within the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years? No, I don't. But do I see in the future them doing it? Absolutely. Or even just a straight reissue of these figures. Now, I think that people know that, and there's a lot of new people coming into this hobby. And Rey is, a very popular character from that movie, as well as Kylo. And this Last Jedi version of Rey just breached this weekend the $400 tier range, and not far behind it, also on this biggest movers list, this Rey in BB-8 has been creeping up a little bit slower than that The Last Jedi Rey, but this Rey in BB-8 now is in the, almost the mid $300 tier range. It's somewhere around like 333, 337 right now for this figure. And you also have the Resistance Rey that is starting to get close to the $300 tier range. Really, the only Rey that doesn't do too well is this Rey without the BB-8, and I think that has a lot to do with not having BB-8 with it. You could get that figure fairly cheap. But these other Reys, right now, they're hard to get. So what does one do if they're looking for a Rey figure? Do I recommend spending $400 on, the Last Jedi Rey? Sure, it's your money, and sometimes that's part of collecting. You're first coming into it, and it's a figure you really want, and you got the money for it, and it's not really about hype. It's just like, I want it. Then absolutely, go buy it. But there is an alternative, and the alternative to that is to go ahead and pre-order the Rise of Skywalker Rey that is currently on pre-order right now on Sideshow. So I'm going to go ahead and pull that up onto the screen. Now, with this in particular figure here, and a lot of us, including myself, were not very impressed with these, prototype pictures from Hot Toys. But I've mentioned it before, that when you go ahead and look at the Secret Base video of this Rey and Dio figure, and you even just look at some of the pictures from Secret Base, like this one that I'm going ahead and pulling up now onto the screen. This is by far, this looks great, in my opinion. So, to go ahead and for $240 something retail, to go ahead and get this figure, I think is a lot more reasonable than spending over $400. I mean, that Last Jedi Rey is going in almost a mid $400 tier range, selling regularly within the secondary market. This for $240. Now, I think what would have scared people away was the first, pictures that I brought up there. But really, Hot Toys has been knocking it out of the park with their final production photos. And the Secret Base, figures have just been looking better. And if I was a betting man, I can bet you that it will absolutely look better than those pictures. It will, at the very least, look like this, or even better. So if you're looking for a Rey, I think that this Rey is the Rey to get, for sure. And I also think, on top of that, it would be a great investment for you. Again, this isn't an investment like you're investing in a stock, but it's still, all these collectibles cost a lot of money. And I'm telling you right now that if the final production photos look like what you're seeing on the screen, this will absolutely hit waitlist before it ever gets in stock. If you thought the Heavy Infantry Mandalorian went on waitlist, and you thought that the Mud Tripper did, this will. So if you're looking for a Rey, this is one of those times where it's like, well, I'm looking for a Rey. I'm going to spend money on a Rey. I have it budgeted for a Rey. You may want to consider putting a pre-order on this, because if you wait for it to get into stock, it might not get into stock at all. And yes, I do have this Rey on pre-order. It's a figure that I want. I want to complete the Rey collection. And I said there's very few figures that I pre-order. But I just wouldn't be able to get this figure if this shot up to Mud Trooper prices. I just wouldn't get it and wouldn't be in my collection. And again, I don't think they're going to be, reissuing any, sequel trilogy figures at this time. I think in the future, years down the road, I could see it, because I think history will repeat itself just like it did with the prequels. as you're seeing right now in this time. So that's what I think about Rey. Right here. Let me know what you think within the comments within the video description below. So let's go ahead and go back to 6scalecantina.com and go to another figure that I want to speak to. And let's go ahead and, talk about these Anakins, because there's always a lot of questions on these figures, especially with the recent announcement, from this past stream, that the Revenge of the Sith version of Anakin, the regular edition, has breached the $600 tier range. Now, it was only a few bucks away virtually for a month, so we knew it was probably going to go ahead and hit that mark, unless something changed within the secondary market. But the regular Anakin is hitting these astronomical prices, and of course the Darkside Anakin continues to climb within the $700 tier range. And is it possible that Darkside Anakin could even hit the $800 tier range? We're going to have to go ahead and keep an eye on it. But a lot of people are, really interested in acquiring an Anakin for their collection. So, what is the potential for Hot Toys to do a straight-up reissue of this figure, or of the Revenge of the Sith version of Anakin? And I say straight up, the way it was? No. Again, you've got so much upcoming content that's going to include Hayden Christensen on Disney Plus, and quite possibly that even goes beyond the Obi-Wan series. Don't think that they wouldn't use Hayden Christensen from some backstories with Grogu at the temple, escaping the temple, so on and so forth. And again, this is not, Anakin Skywalker is not like, Empire Strikes Back Boba Fett, or even the Attack of the Clones Yoda. There are some different looks, some different things you can go ahead and do with Anakin that you can't really do with some other figures. So why would Hot Toys do this if you're not going to get collectors like me? I wouldn't buy it because I already have it. But if you come out with a version that's different, I might buy it, especially at a retail price. So don't think that Hot Toys doesn't look at things that way, and you can't look at every figure the same way. So I don't think that this is a possibility. However, is it possible that we could get a 2-pack that would include this Darkside Anakin like they did that Nightmare Batman? And I say yes. Then they can go ahead and do this, especially if they give us, for instance, a Darth Vader from Revenge of the Sith, and they give us this Darkside Anakin with it. If you want the Vader, just like you want the Dark Suit Superman, you're going to have to get this Darkside Anakin. Could I see them doing that? Now, it would not come with this base that he's standing on, that comes with this figure. There'll be some, perhaps, accessory differences, in that regard. But could I see them doing that? Yes. Could I see them actually doing that with a Darth Vader from, the Anakin series? Possibly. I do think we're going to get some type of Darkside Anakin that will look slightly different than this, a solo release. So you get everybody, even collectors that have this one, to buy it. But, this is an exclusive figure, just like that Nightmare Batman was. So how do you go ahead and take care of that reissue idea? You go ahead and put it in a 2-pack, like with a Revenge of the Sith Darth Vader with the helmet and everything. And voila, folks. There's your figure. Now, this would probably be more of a bargain to pick up that 2-pack than spending $850 just on this Darkside Anakin. So, Just saying. Do I think that that is a potential? There's been a trend recently with Hot Toys, and I think you have to look at it from a business perspective. And I think that there are some possibilities of creative reissues, even with exclusives, where you don't think that they would really do it. Very, very interesting. But going back, I don't have, for instance, as you see at the very bottom of your screen in the middle, the regular Revenge of the Sith version of Anakin. I don't personally own that figure, and I wish I had that figure. So for me as a collector, not every collector does this, and I understand. But for me, what I'm going to do to be able to fill that gap is I am going to go ahead and get the Clone Wars Anakin that is up on pre-order right now. For me, this is going to not only fill the gap for the Clone Wars Anakin, this is going to fill the gap for the Anakin from the prequels for sure. And, at 240 whatever dollars this is on Sideshow, I'd much rather spend that than spend the high secondary market prices for the regular Revenge of the Sith Anakin. And this is the same head sculpt. It has different hair, I might have some little different paint apps here or there or whatnot, makeup, whatnot. It's the same figure. It's the same sculpt. And it's an awesome looking figure, and it's very reasonable retail price. And so what I would suggest to you, again, and if you're wondering, well, how is this figure going to do? Well, it's going to do good. Just look at, these other Anakins. It's going to go the same way, I believe, for sure. So again, if you're looking for an Anakin, this one's going to be coming out very, very soon. I think the beginning, of next year, if I'm not mistaken. And closing this segment of the show out, you do have to remember, that Nightmare Batman was an exclusive too. So don't think that they couldn't go ahead. And, do I think that they're going to straight up reissue this figure the way it was? No. But can I see them putting it in a 2-pack as a way to kind of reissue it with a new figure? Absolutely. And why? Because they've been doing that. So again, food for thought and something to consider. So from here, we're going to go ahead and go into what crazy, possible, shocking announcements could Hot Toys surprise us with in the short term for Hot Toys. Now, I do have some here that I think are very, very strong possibilities. I'm going to go ahead and bring the first one here up on the screen. So, they're coming out with this, folks, and I believe that they're going to come out with this figure, announcement-wise, this year. I understand that there are some WWE license content that they have to work out, but just like Hasbro has worked out their licensing for the likeness of Sasha Banks within their Black Series figure that is already on pre-order right now, you can rest assured that Hot Toys has worked that out as well via Disney. I mean, right now, you can look right here that, they're coming out not only with the helmeted version of this figure, but they're coming out with the head sculpt as well. So, do I think that Hot Toys is going to, come out and surprise us with this Koska Reeves? And I say yes. Look, Vince McMahon is a businessman. And they absolutely, in all those big contracts that have to be signed to be able to use WWE wrestlers, or, especially with a company like Disney, rest assured that Disney was savvy in making sure, look, we're going to use this actress, within our content, and we're going to, we want to be able to use her in marketing, because Hot Toys, Disney does use a lot of these toy companies, and the way that they don't think that they don't use these toy companies as forms of advertising for their upcoming content. They absolutely do. And, they're not going to go ahead and hold back, this actress because, because, Vince McMahon is not going to allow this. He's allowed it with the Black Series, and he would absolutely allow it with Hot Toys. And do I see them coming out with this figure with the head sculpt? They already came out with Bo-Katan. I mean, would this figure do better or worse than the Death Watch Mandalorian? You tell me. It's going to do better because it's going to be unique. It is going to have a head sculpt, and it's certainly going to go with the finale if you want to set up that whole scene. And she's basically Bo-Katan's right now, her right hand woman. So I do I think we have to wait for season 3? No, we don't have to wait for season 3 for this figure. This figure is coming, folks, and I expect it to be announced officially this year for sure. So let me know what you think about Koska Reeves within the video description below. Now, I brought this figure up before, but I need to bring it up again because I've never brought it up within the Hot Toys Talk edition of this series. I did bring it up on a stream before, but, here we go. This is, I believe, a no-brainer future announcement for Hot Toys to come out with Cobb Vanth and use this Timothy Olyphant head sculpt. Now, do I think that they would come out with this before the final production is released on the deluxe Boba Fett that has this armor? No way. They're not going to have it compete because you'll have some collectors that'll just take this, or something to that effect. But once that comes out, which is going to be what, like May, June? Do I see this coming out afterwards, the middle or end of next year? Absolutely. I mentioned this in my last episode. Mandalorian is hot. And, a lot of characters, especially a character like this, yeah, he wasn't in it very much, but he was certainly in there a lot more than Darth Maul was in the Solo movie. And as good as the Solo movie was, right now, as far as the fandom's concerned, The Mandalorian is the hottest thing for a long, long time. And anything that they put out from The Mandalorian, cool character-wise, is certainly going to sell very good. And this would be a top tier bestseller pre-order-wise if they come out with this figure. And Hot Toys can absolutely then use this paint application and use this armor again, just in a smaller, non-fat suited body or whatnot. This would be loose. And to me, this has money written all over it. And also for Hot Toys, an opportunity to use reuse pieces that they already have. They gave us an animated Boba Fett. They gave us a vintage color Boba Fett. And this is actually, not a novelty item. This character was pretty prominent in that first episode, which was a long episode, and he had a lot of screen time. And I think that this character is going to show up again, without question, in the book of Boba Fett, because, he's on Tatooine with Fennec and Boba. I think that there's an opportunity there that he could show up within that, series. And certainly I think there's an opportunity in the future where they can bring him back in The Mandalorian, and who knows what else that they might, bring Timothy Olyphant back in. So I think that this is something, while it seems shocking to me, I think this is a no-brainer move. It certainly seems like there's no way they're going to reissue this Boba Fett in this armor. I get that. But here's a way to reissue that armor without it being Boba Fett. To me, it's money. Let me know what you think within the comments below. And let's go ahead and go to another figure that I think that is going to come out very soon. So, okay, look. Let me lower that here. Not Boba Fett, but you can see IG-88. So, the IG-11 is becoming a success, and I think that, Hot Toys basically being able to use that design for IG-88 for an Empire Strikes Back edition, or certainly they might bring IG-88 in some capacity within the book of Boba Fett. Do I see them going ahead and surprising us with an IG-88? Actually, to me, this would not be a surprise at all. I think that a lot of these bounty hunters, whether it's Dengar or Bosk, so on and so forth, could be coming out. And this one, since they already did the IG-11, do I see this happening? I absolutely do. As shocking as it may seem, I absolutely believe that this is something that could happen within the next few years, for sure. Let's go ahead and go to another figure that I think that they're going to go ahead and come out with. And, you know, you can see right here on the screen, they teased this Bespin Han with these prototype pictures of the Bespin Leia. And you have Lando coming out February, March of next year, the Bespin Lando. And really, the next logical choice for Hot Toys to come out with Han Solo is absolutely this Bespin Han. I think that this is a no-brainer move by them. And I think that, there's certainly discussion and rumors out there that, Harrison Ford is just very difficult sometimes to get, these final, sign off on these figures, very particular, or this or that, or whatever's going on. At the end of the day, folks, business is business. And Disney has given Hot Toys a license to make Star Wars figures, and quite frankly, this is one of the most beloved characters in all of Star Wars. And if you're going to continue to make original trilogy figures and figures for Star Wars, I absolutely see Hot Toys continuing with using Harrison Ford's likeness and coming out with more Han Solo figures. I think that the priority has been right now to get out a lot of the upcoming content. Not only for Star Wars, but for Marvel and for DC. And so I think that some of these, including the Bespin Luke, which was teased, this one wasn't really, although it was teased in the Leia photos. I think that this is coming. And I think now, while things are situated, whatever they got to work out license-wise and red tape-wise, they've been through this before. Every toy company has been through this before. Do I see this figure on the horizon within the next 1, 2, 3 years? I say yes. This is absolutely coming, and I can't wait. Exercise some patience. If you want a Han Solo, but you really don't want the A New Hope ones, and you really don't want the Stormtrooper one, and you really just want this one, but you'll go ahead and spend the other one, but you don't want it, save your money. This is going to come within the near future. I believe, again, when you're collecting toys of this magnitude, sometimes you need to exercise some patience. For sure. Let's go ahead and go to another figure. And so, we talk about what can be coming up for the prequels quite regularly. And we've already discussed Mace Windu as a no-brainer figure, General Grievous as a no-brainer figure. Certainly any of the Jedi like Kit Fisto or Plo Koon or even Ki-Adi-Mundi, and certainly, the Jedi like Obi-Wan from The Phantom Menace in that different hairstyle, or even Obi-Wan from, Attack of the Clones, or even Anakin from, Attack of the Clones, or even the young Anakin from The Phantom Menace, certainly Padme, which they've already teased. There's so many that they can come out with. But, there's a couple of other Jedi that would also cross over into the Clone Wars. And so, this is a little bit, far out there, but is it really far out that, they couldn't use this Amy Allen head sculpt for Aayla Secura? I don't think so. How bad would this do? This would actually do really, really good. It's a Jedi. And if you're collecting Clone Wars figures, if you're collecting prequel figures, if you're collecting Jedi figures, I think that this is an absolute, for a lot of collectors, they would jump all over this. And I think that this would be just a fabulous, I think Hot Toys would do a great job here, as they do with a lot of female head sculpts, capturing Amy Allen's likeness within this. And even if they wanted to go ahead and surprise us with with an early Soshan head sculpt, for Shaak T, again, an absolute, wonderful character, and again, a character that's also relevant within the Clone Wars. And how well would this do? Again, the Jedi's would do very, very well. Do I think there's more of a priority for Mace, and perhaps the Phantom Menace, Obi-Wan, and some of the other ones? Sure, but do I see that this being a good crossover, especially with the Clone Wars? Absolutely. So just food for thought. I think that some of these could be forthcoming. So that's going to go ahead and bring me to the last figure that I think is a very, very strong possibility. And I actually believe that they're going to go ahead and officially announce this year, late in the year. All right, listen. This character blew us away the same way that Boba Fett did when he showed up. And, obviously Luke took our breath away. But man, Ahsoka in that episode was absolutely fantastic. Do we have to wait for the Ahsoka series for them to do this figure? Let me tell you something about what Hot Toys is seeing about releasing Ahsoka Tano. The internet broke when they announced this figure. Don't think that they don't know. This was #1, it seemed like, for an eternity, best-selling wise, on Sideshow. When you sort out all the Hot Toys figures, regardless of Star Wars, Marvel, DC, whatever the case may be. Now, once they release this figure, and I know that there's talk out there, it'll probably be delayed, the Rey will be delayed, this will be delayed. I don't see this being delayed at all. They can't afford to be delaying figures right now. There's a lot of hype right now. And I think that they're going to hit the Rey timeline. They're going to hit the Kylo time. I don't think you're going to see very many delays. And I certainly don't see a delay with this figure. And especially with this figure, because I think that they want to, and they're probably already working on behind the scenes, this version of Ahsoka for sure. Because don't think if they come out with an Ahsoka from The Mandalorian, that, now we can't come out with one from the Ahsoka series. Of course they can. Just like they come out with, different versions of Anakin, or, Han Solo, or Princess Leia, or this one or that one. This isn't, she's not the Empire Strikes Back Boba Fett. They don't have to, they come out with a different version. And quite frankly, it'd be a smart business move too. Because right now Ahsoka's hot. And so the internet will break with this release. And if they come out with another release in another couple of years, it'll break the internet with that release. Unless the Ahsoka series is terrible, which I don't think it will be. I think it's going to be fantastic. So, is it possible that Hot Toys can drop this bombshell announcement before the end of this year? You have to wonder. And I say, yes. This is an absolute no-brainer release. If you think Bo-Katan is doing good, wait till you see them release this figure after the Clone Wars one gets into stock. I absolutely cannot wait. Again, some of these figures, not a whole lot of discussion about, and it seems like it can be quite shocking. But when you look at it in certain perspectives, is it really very shocking at all? Well, that's going to go ahead and bring to a conclusion this episode of the Market Value Chart Show. And thank you so much for watching this episode. And also thank you so much for your support. Please go ahead and hit that like button if you enjoyed the content. And please go ahead and subscribe to the channel. And please continue to spread the word around about 6scalecantina.com and the Market Value Chart. Again, your support is very much appreciated. As I mentioned at the onset of the program, our next live episode of the Market Value Chart Show will be not this Saturday, but the following Saturday, April 24th at 6 p.m. Eastern. We will be live once again. We will have Mike from the Action Figure Cave back in the cantina. We'll also have Nate from Geekin' Out back in the house. And this time around, the extra special guest will be Dante from the Man of Hot Collectibles. So we're really looking forward to that. And you absolutely don't want to miss that forthcoming episode again. Live, Saturday, April 24th at 6 p.m. Eastern. I also want to bring up, I participate a lot on a Star Wars group on Discord. If you're not familiar with Discord and the Star Wars group on Discord, I have the link to their group within the video description below. We talk a lot about everything Hot Toys, and it's absolutely a fun social media group. So definitely want to go ahead and check them out. I have the link within the video description below. I also have the link to our brand new Facebook group and our Instagram within the video description below too. So please go ahead and check those out and join those as well. Remember, many of the truths we cling to depend greatly on our own point of view. See you next time.